Tonight, several breaking stories as we come on the air. The stock market free fall, the Dow losing more than 2,000 points today. President Trump responding tonight. Also breaking, there are reports of 3 tornadoes on the ground in the last hour. Dangerous storms moving in tonight, multiple states. And the beloved priest shot and killed at the church. First tonight, U.S. stock markets plunging for the second day in a row. The Dow dropping more than 2,000 points, only the 4th time in history we've seen this. Millions of Americans worried about higher prices now and their 401ks. And tonight, China now retaliating after President Trump's tariffs. Democratic leaders fuming. The president was on the golf course today and what he said about all of this. Also tonight, breaking news, reports of those tornadoes on the ground. The storms moving in tonight across several states. Lee Goldberg standing by live with the forecast. And the states of emergency already tonight. A 9-year-old boy swept away walking to the bus. Tonight, actor and comedian Russell Brand facing multiple charges of sex assault involving several women. His response right here tonight. Here in the U.S., that beloved priest shot and killed outside the church rectory. What we're learning about the suspect now under arrest. The 24-year-old American bull rider killed in a horrific rodeo accident in front of thousands of people. What his father told us late today. In Washington tonight, a federal judge giving the Trump administration until Monday night to return an immigrant mistakenly deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador. The judge saying it was illegal to do so. The breaking news tonight involving the future of TikTok. The CEO accused of choking a man on a cruise ship. What led to the alleged attack? Honoring their father, actor Val Kilmer's children just out tonight with a statement after all of the support this week. What they're now saying about their father. And the American dad who suffered from the same condition as Bruce Willis. Tonight, what his son is now doing in honor of his father, who is our person of the week.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. On this Friday night, we have several breaking stories, reports of multiple tornadoes on the ground in just the last hour, several states in the path tonight. So Lee Goldberg is standing by live with the timing of these storms as we go into the evening. But we do begin tonight with U.S. markets in a free fall today for a second day in a row after President Trump's sweeping new tariffs. The Dow dropping more than 2,000 points today, only the 4th time in history we've seen this, falling 5.5% today alone, plunging close to 4,000 points in 2 days. The S&P 500 closing down nearly 6% today, and the Nasdaq down nearly 6% as well. Tonight, China now retaliating with a 34% tariff on all U.S. goods sold in China. Tonight, you will hear from American farmers very worried about this, along with American families concerned over higher prices now. And just before the markets closed today, President Trump in Florida today posting only the weak will fail. Democratic leaders asking why the president was golfing as the markets plunged for a second day in a row. So where does this go from here, and how much will the average American family likely pay in higher prices? ABC's Whit Johnson leading us off tonight. He's on Wall Street.
Tonight, the stock market in free fall after President Trump's sweeping tariffs. Today, the Dow losing more than 2,000 points in a single day. Only the 4th time in history this has happened. The other 3 times also all under President Trump during the pandemic. Tonight, millions of Americans are worried about rising prices and their shrinking 401ks. This snapshot of the Dow since President Trump's inauguration in January, a racing gain since he took office. The Dow down more than 14% since its record high, putting it into correction territory. And this is the tech-heavy Nasdaq during that same time, now officially in bear market territory, meaning it's lost more than 20% since its recent high. And this is the S&P 500 during the new administration, losing $5 trillion in just the past 2 days. Democratic leaders criticizing Trump for golfing today in Florida as markets plunged. Late today, President Trump standing firm, saying only the weak will fail. And tonight, China now firing back, saying they will now slap a 34% retaliatory tariff on U.S. goods coming into China. China banning 11 American companies and halting chicken imports from 5 of the largest agricultural exporters in the U.S. China is the 3rd largest importer for U.S. agricultural products. American farmers are now bracing. Louise and Vance Emke have been farming in western Kansas for over 50 years, worried not only for themselves, but for the entire farming community.
It isn't just us, it's the people who sell the equipment. They aren't making equipment sales. It's the fertilizer people. You're buying less fertilizer. Who knows? You may have to lay somebody off and stretch whatever you have further.
And it's not just farming, it's electronics. Japanese gaming giant Nintendo now delaying the pre-orders of its highly anticipated Switch 2 console to assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions. After President Trump said, quote, "I think it's going very well," tonight Secretary of State Marco Rubio describing the tanking global markets this way.
I don't think it's fair to say economies are crashing. Markets are crashing because markets are based on the stock value of companies who today are embedded in modes of production that are bad for the United States.
The White House concedes it could take up to 2 years for some manufacturing to come back to the U.S. Economists say it could take far longer and cost billions. Not to mention the additional cost of labor paying workers in America when workers overseas make far less. James Evans from Baltimore manufactures car parts here in the U.S. and is hopeful this gamble works.
I think in 3-4 years, it should set us up and other people that are manufacturing here in America for success.
In the meantime, Americans are set to pay more at the grocery store for electronics and for cars. The average family of 4, analysts say, could pay $7,000 more in higher prices a year. Should Americans expect things to get worse before they get better?
I think we're in for a bumpy ride. And again, it could get worse from here, depending on what we see from the rest of the world and what we see further from businesses and consumers as they respond to this.
And David, tonight, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell is warning that Trump's tariffs will increase inflation, and a dramatic step from J.P. Morgan saying that this will only raise the chances of a recession in the U.S. to 60%. David?
Whit Johnson leading us off from Wall Street. Whit, we'll be watching you here this weekend. Thank you. Now to the states of emergencies. The tornado watches across at least 9 states right now, and reports of tornadoes on the ground just before we came on the air tonight. So let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg of our New York station, WABC. And of course, Lee, these storms hitting right now.
David, this is an urgent and dangerous situation across parts of Texas. It's just northeast of Tyler, Texas. And now we've got confirmation of a tornado on the ground, a large and destructive tornado near Pittsburgh, Texas. Also areas in line for this: Hughes Springs, Douglas. We've got multiple tornado warnings into Arkansas, so make sure you're in a place of safety if you're in the path of these storms. Relentless rounds from Texas to Ohio of heavy torrential rain during the overnight. The severe weather threat even higher tonight, maybe possible strong long-track tornadoes, maybe even EF3. The severe threat will shift to the south and the Gulf Coast as we go into the weekend. But before that, we've seen 3 to 5 inches, even 7 inches of rain from Little Rock to Louisville, an additional 5 to 10 inches tonight, rising rivers flooding into next week. David?
Just an incredible amount of rain ahead. Lee Goldberg with us tonight. Lee, thank you. And as you heard Lee mention, there are millions of Americans in the path of these dangerous and relentless storms again tonight. Dozens have reported tornadoes already. In fact, several EF3s, winds up to 160 miles per hour. And a 9-year-old boy swept away on his way to the bus. ABC's Morgan Norwood in the storm zone tonight.
Tonight, that massive, relentless storm system that spawned multiple monster tornadoes, threatening millions from Kentucky to Texas.
I need you to take cover immediately. There is a tornado on the ground, according to the police department in Canton.
More than 500 severe storm reports in the past 48 hours, including 2 EF3 tornadoes. This one slamming Lake City, Arkansas, and another that tore the heart out of Selmer, Tennessee. In Frankfort, Kentucky, authorities say a 9-year-old boy was swept away by floodwaters while walking to his bus stop this morning.
At approximately 8:45 this morning, emergency crews recovered the missing juvenile who was confined to the scene.
The house is right here.
In Hopkinsville, Kentucky, neighborhoods flooded as far as the eye can see. Overnight, tornado-warned storms threatening the Nashville suburbs. Torrential rain swamping streets. The Nashville Fire Department out in boats rescuing drivers.
And David, here in Little Rock, we are under that tornado watch through tonight. In fact, the National Weather Service warning of the possibility of those long-track tornadoes. David?
Thinking about the millions in the path of these storms tonight, Morgan, thank you. Now to the beloved priest shot and killed outside the church rectory in northeast Kansas. A suspect is in custody tonight. Police say the attack was premeditated. Here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, investigators searching for a motive after the shocking murder of a beloved Kansas priest gunned down in cold blood.
There simply are no words. Our hearts are just broken.
Police finding 57-year-old father Arul Karasala with multiple gunshot wounds outside the residence of this church in Seneca, a bullet hole piercing the glass of the rectory. Parish director telling the AP an older man walked up to the priest and shot him 3 times. Authorities arresting 66-year-old Gary Hermesh, today taken into court shackled in a wheelchair, charged with first-degree murder. Officials say they believe the killing was premeditated, but have not said why. Records show the suspect grew up in that tiny Kansas town, but had since moved hundreds of miles away.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son.
Grieving parishioners gathering Thursday to pray hours after the killing. Terry Nordis heartbroken.
He was a wonderful person. He was very personable, and he did a great job.
David, this suspect has not yet entered a plea. He's being held on $1 million bond.
David, Trevor Alt with us tonight. Trevor, thank you. Tonight, British actor and comedian Russell Brand is facing multiple charges of sex assault involving several women. And tonight, his response. James Longman from London.
Tonight, British comedian and actor Russell Brand has taken to social media to deny charges that he sexually assaulted multiple women over 6 years.
I was a drug addict, a sex addict, and an imbecile. But what I never was a rapist. I've never engaged in non-consensual activity. I pray that you can see that by looking in my eyes.
The London Metropolitan Police say the charges involve 4 separate women in incidents they say occurred from 1999 to 2005. One woman alleges Brand raped her. Authorities say the charges follow an 18-month police investigation after British media published a documentary back in September 2023 accusing Brand of abusing and assaulting women. Brand rose to fame as a British radio host and comedian back in the early 2000s, breaking into the Hollywood scene with movies like Forgetting Sarah Marshall. He was briefly married to singer Katy Perry. But in recent years, Brand has found a new fan base, attracting a massive audience with his podcasts and YouTube videos on politics and conspiracy theories.
David, authorities are appealing to the public for information about these cases. Meanwhile, Russell Brand says he's looking forward to defending himself in court. David.
James Longman from London tonight. James, thank you. Back here in the U.S. tonight, a federal judge is now giving the Trump administration until Monday night to return an immigrant husband and father mistakenly deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador. The judge saying it was illegal to do so. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, a federal judge giving the Trump administration until Monday to bring back this man to the United States from the high-security prison in El Salvador, where he was deported by mistake. Judge Paula Zita saying deporting Kilmer Abrego Garcia, an undocumented immigrant, was, quote, an illegal act.
Kilmer, if you can hear me, I miss you so much.
Abrego Garcia's wife, Jennifer, who is an American citizen, says her husband is the man in these images from that prison. The Department of Homeland Security acknowledges he was mistakenly put on a plane to El Salvador with more than 200 men the administration claims are violent gang members because of an administrative error.
It was an administrative error. The administration maintains the position that this individual who was deported to El Salvador and will not be returning to our country was a member of the brutal and vicious MS-13 gang.
But today, Judge Zinn is saying in a court of law, when someone is accused of membership in such a violent and predatory organization, it comes in the form of an indictment, complaint, criminal proceeding, a robust process so we can address the facts. I haven't yet heard that from the government. David, administration officials say the U.S. can't force El Salvador to return Abrego Garcia. Tonight, they are appealing the case with Homeland Security officials adamant that he is a member of the MS-13 gang. David?
Pierre Thomas on this in Washington again tonight. Pierre, thank you. Now to a terrifying scene. A 24-year-old American bull rider killed in a rodeo accident in front of thousands of people. What his father told us late today. Here's ABC's Mireya Villarreal.
Tonight, a Texas bull riding event turning deadly for a young professional rider. 24-year-old Dylan Grant from Wyoming suffering fatal injuries after his father says the bull bucked him off and onto the ground.
He got his neck stepped on. He ran out of the arena and straight to the ambulance with these injuries. But Dylan was double tough.
Dylan was medevac to a Houston area hospital where he died.
What happened to Dylan last night is very, 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 very rare. It was a freak accident.
What's your name?
I'm Dylan Grant.
Dylan Grant, seen here at a Colorado rodeo, rose from high school state champion to win the Mountain State title and then worked his way into the dangerous world of professional bull riding.
How about a big ride by Dylan Grant?
Can you put into words what this loss means to your family?
No, and you're just going to pull a lot of tears and heartache. He was just built with kindness.
David, Dylan's father tells me they absolutely knew the dangers of this sport. That is why he wore a Kevlar vest and a custom-made hockey helmet every time he rode. But he loved this sport, and he was absolutely living his dream. David?
Yeah, we're thinking about his family tonight, Mireya. Thank you. We do have one more note on the economy here this evening, a better than expected report on jobs. Employers adding 228,000 new jobs in March. The unemployment rate ticking up slightly to 4.2%. Of course, the report looking at numbers before the news of the tariffs this week. When we come back here tonight, the breaking headline involving the future of TikTok here in the U.S. Also tonight, a CEO accused of choking a man on a cruise ship. What led to the alleged attack? And just in tonight, actor Val Kilmer's children and the statement they just put out tonight, what they want you to know in a moment here. Tonight, the CEO of a mortgage company is facing charges for allegedly choking and threatening to kill another passenger on board a Virgin Voyages cruise ship. Authorities say First American Financial Corporation CEO Kenneth DeGiorgio attacked the man because the CEO's wife had told the man to stop dancing barefoot on the dance floor on the ship. That passenger allegedly then cursing at her. Authorities say DeGiorgio was confined to his cabin until the ship arrived in Puerto Rico. Tonight, the future of TikTok here in the U.S. President Trump giving another 75 days before the deadline for its Chinese owners to sell to a U.S.-approved buyer or be banned in America. Congress ordered the sale over national security concerns. The president telling reporters he proposed giving China relief on tariffs. To approve a TikTok deal, they now have until mid-June to make some sort of a deal. When we come back here tonight, just in here, the touching statement from Val Kilmer's children about their father and what they want you to know. Also tonight, the American dad who suffered from the same condition as Bruce Willis. Tonight, what his son is now doing. This is incredible. Who is our person of the week? To the Index, and just in tonight, a statement from actor Val Kilmer's children paying tribute to their late father, who died of pneumonia this week at the age of 65. He had battled throat cancer. Mercedes and Jack Kilmer releasing a statement to People magazine, offering their gratitude for honoring his extraordinary memory. They say they are proud of him and honored to see his legacy celebrated by so many this week. When we come back here tonight, we witnessed Bruce Willis's struggle, and tonight here, the American son whose own father battled the same thing, and what he's now done. Who is our person of the week? Finally tonight here, the son honoring his father, our person of the week. Tonight, a devoted son's incredible bike ride across America in honor of his father. Woo! Spencer Klein taking off in Astoria, Oregon.
Day one of biking across the United States.
His mission to bike across country 3,652 miles to raise money and awareness about frontotemporal dementia, the same disease Bruce Willis is battling. Spencer lost his father Lawrence to it. He's determined to help other families like his. Day 4.
A quick lunch of a usual tuna and peanut butter.
Day 7, a hole in his tire. Day 10, arriving in Idaho past the beautiful farms.
Having so much fun, just biking into a headwind.
Day 13, a dog running into his path. The dog's okay, but Spencer broke his wrist. Day 19, crossing into Wyoming. Spencer's brother-in-law, Paul, continuing the journey on bike. Spencer walking behind him.
Hopefully I'll be back in a week and a half once this bad boy heals.
Colorado, Kansas.
Absolutely exhausted. Just gotta keep going.
Missouri, Nashville, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. Day 46, 300 miles left. A second accident.
I was ran off the road by a truck and ended up breaking my collarbone.
And then something remarkable. People across the country began biking for Spencer.
In support of Spencer Klein.
Spencer, I've got your back.
Even Bruce Willis's wife, Emma Hemming Willis, hearing about Spencer.
Spencer lost his father to FTD in 2012. And his goal is to raise as much awareness on this ride and funding to be able to find a cure in his lifetime.
And finally, day 68, Charleston, South Carolina.
Just walking these last 5 miles or so to the beach.
Spencer wearing a brace, carrying his bike wheel, making it across country, stepping into the Atlantic.
Cheers!
This week, Spencer was honored at the Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration's annual Hope-Raising Benefit, raising vital funds. And right here tonight,
hey, David.
That proud son, Spencer.
My hope is that one day, with everyone's help, we'll find a cure in my lifetime, and that no child will have to lose a parent to FTD. Thank you.
And so we choose Spencer Klein. Spencer, you're something. If you'd like to help, you can go to theaftd.org to learn more. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.